grammar lesson in Unit 6 is about conditional type 3, and you guys have already been introduced to three types of conditional type 0, 1, and 2. Let's first start by understanding what conditional type 3 means. Conditional type 3 refers to unreal past situations. It's used to express imaginary situations contrary to real situations in the past. An example would help us to understand better. Let's say we have a real situation in the past. A real situation means something that really happened. John had a bad mark in maths because he did not study well for the test. This is a real situation that happened and we cannot change it. But we can imagine the opposite. We can imagine the thing that didn't happen. What can we imagine from that situation? We can imagine an unreal past situation. A past situation that is not true, that didn't happen. And we would say if John had studied hard for the exam, he wouldn't have had a bad mark. But here we are just imagining. So that's why we say the real situation and the unreal situation are contrary, opposite situations. Talking about the form is the next thing we're gonna do, so let's move on and see what is the form of conditional type 3. Alright, so in conditional sentences we always have two parts: an if clause or condition and the main clause, the result of that condition. How do we know the if clause? Simply, there is always an if in the sentence, and after if we have a subject and then a verb in the past perfect. You guys already have seen the past perfect tense, and you know that it's had plus a past participle of the verb. On the other hand, the form of the main clause is would plus have plus past participle. Now let's check together this table for a better understanding of conditional type 3. We have that table. We're gonna divide it into two parts. We check the first part, which contains a real situation and an unreal situation, and an if clause and a main clause as well. Let's start with the real situation, which is the sentence that you always find in the exercises and which is usually given in a test for students of second baccalaureate. The real situation says, we did not have a car, we arrived late to the meeting. That's the real situation that happened in the past. Now, what we are supposed to do to come up with a conditional sentence in type 3, simply imagine the opposite of that. So what is the unreal situation or the conditional sentence in type 3 form? If we had had a car, we would not have arrived to the meeting late. In the second part, we keep the same example, but with a slight difference. This time we're going to start with the main clause first and then the if clause second. It doesn't affect the rule or anything about conditional type 3. Real situation, in the second part we have we did not arrive late to the meeting. The if clause, we had a car. This is the real situation, and of course the meaning is completely different from what we have seen before. What is the unreal situation? The conditional sentence in type 3 form. We would have arrived late to the meeting if we had not had a car. In both situations, real situations, we were supposed to imagine the opposite, and that's the result. That's conditional type 3. Alright, now maybe you have noticed some plus and minus under the verbs, the main verbs in the if clause and the main clause. Let's go back to part number 1. If you see the verb has a minus because it's negative, did not have in the real situation. When we change the sentence to an unreal situation, the verb changes to a positive form. Remember we said they are supposed to be contrary to each other? The same thing in the main clause. If the verb is positive, we change it to negative. Arrived, and then we have would not have arrived. The same thing in the second part. Did not arrive, would have arrived. Negative changed to positive. And we had a car in the if clause change to if we hadn't had a car, negative form of the past perfect tense.